the president has been Eric Holder and his conviction in terms of holding people accountable but protecting the rights of African Americans. He realized that SNCC and black women and these black men fought and died and struggled for the voting right, and he is determined to protect that. And he's also been great at the federal level in terms of criminal justice reform.
But I think his question, hold on, wait, and I think his question was something else.
Well, first, I'm glad Neil brought up Attorney General Holder, because I feel like Holder is something that all of us on this panel can agree on. But number two, to the question, I'm not sure that capital is the answer to the question, but let me say this. We need to be more conscious and conscientious about the capital that we already have, right? So the black community in America will reach $1.2 trillion in spending power by 2015. That'll make us like the 8th largest nation in the world, right? So we have to be more conscious about how we're consuming, what we're consuming, and where we're consuming. So I would love to see us try to work to raise the consciousness around those things, because there already is a tremendous amount of capital, but we spend it on things that are not in our community. We patronize businesses that don't support our community or don't care about our community. And so we have to work much harder to raise awareness around it. Now, I think that's one level of it. The second level of that would be for us to think about ways in which we can channel some of those resources into social justice, into political campaigns. But the very foundation of it is we have to all take stock of how and where we're spending our money, who we're giving our money to, and why it's not circulating within our own communities.
Yeah, we've got to be brief because we are running out of time. Go ahead.
Okay, my name is Maurice Green. I'm the founder of an organization called the Black Doctoral Network. We have about 4,000 Black and Latino PhD, MD, JD members throughout the country. My question is, how do you see yourself or your position in terms of mentorship of the up-and-coming Black intellectuals? Because often there's a disconnect between the most renowned and well-known Black intellectuals and those scholars coming up through historically Black colleges or predominantly white colleges. How do you see that as an important part of what you do?
Great question. Who was that?
I would say it's the most important part of what I do, and I do it more than I do anything else. And I do it with my own students and with students from all over the country and with junior faculty members, and so it's probably, I think, but certainly one of the most important things that we can do. And we were all talking about that, the importance of our having, in some cases, been mentored by the same person. So thank you for asking that question. It's an incredibly important thing we do. Intellectuals have to reproduce themselves.
And by the way, the gathering for the Black PhD Doctoral Network will be in Philadelphia, October the 23rd. So you can sign up, and hopefully many of you will be there. Yes, sir.
Good afternoon. Appreciate your time. My question kind of echoes the question prior to mine. As a young African American, I look towards intellectuals that would be engaging in what Black millennials, the culture of Black millennials. So I'm thankful and grateful for the work of Dr. Glaude, who calls out the Black church, and for Dr. Dyson, especially with his work around hip hop. And as we see, Harvard is introducing a new hip hop question. It's coming. As Harvard introduces this new program with Nas, my question then goes: who are the intellectuals that are addressing the financial, corporate and financial effects on our Black culture, in our churches and in our hip hops, the exploitation, the financial exploitation of these institutions.
All right.
And so my question is to you: who are these intellectuals, and what are their access? What access can they have to these communities for those that have an ear to hear?
Anybody want to take that?
Yeah, I mean there are a lot of fantastic intellectuals who are working with the socioeconomic challenges based upon like Black culture and the appropriation of Black culture by corporations and the commodification of Black culture by corporations. I would direct you to Imani Perry's Prophets of the Hood. Yeah. For starters, like talking about hip hop and how hip hop is exploited and what are some of the social justice concerns and issues that are at stake when it gets exploited. And then there's a long list of scholars who are writing about those things. And I think, for me again, it's sometimes less about the discussion and the writing about all of that stuff is very, very important because that's where I get my marching orders from, and more about like what are we doing about it. And so I won't take up too much time, but I would start with Imani Perry on that.
We are running out of time, so you got to be very brief.
I'll be very brief.
Also, take a quick look at Sandy Darity's work at Duke.
Yeah.
Yep.
My name is Catherine Grace Jordan. I'm founder and president of End Discrimination Now, and we represent all protected classes. My question has to do with the priorities. First of all, I think that the scholars sitting at this table, I wish there were a lot more of you, and I wish this room were 4 times.
There are. That's the issue. Is it?
No, I mean a lot more of you here today.
Oh, I see.
That's what I mean. I wish this room were 4 times as big as it is. Because
what's your
I think
question?
the future, I think the scholars are going to have to lead the African Americans into the future because there's a number of things which obviously I don't have time to cover and they're very complex. But I do want to address one issue, which is the 12% unemployment rate among blacks, which is twice that of whites. And what's going on in our courts today? Because everybody looks at the Supreme Court's decisions thinking,
We've got to. We're out of time.
I want to ask you to take, these are very complex subjects and I'm on Facebook, I talk about this all the time.
Okay.
I want to ask you to take a look at 2 different areas, okay, and as terms of priorities. What are your priorities?
All right, so the question you're asking is priorities. Let's get the next question, and then we'll have them all answered. Go ahead. Very briefly.
My name is Sal Jackson. I'm hearing everybody say the word black. And I know that we've been in here in America a long time. Right. You know, first we was called puppies when we was like, then African Americans, now I'm black. My thing is, ain't it time just to be an American?
Okay, next question. All right, let's go next.
Got the question. It's a good question.
We got the question.
We got the question. We got it.
Yeah. Next question, please. We're running out of time. This will be the last one.
I'm an administrative teacher in the school system, and I just wanted to know, is it possible that I can get contact with any of you all to give my students maybe 15 minutes of your time the next time you're in New York to have a conversation?
Thank you.
Excuse me, here you go, right here.
Yes. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Rita Smith, and I'm from the Bronx area of New York, and I definitely wanted to say I commend all you guys, and basically what I want to say, some of them came up and spoke about it. I would like for our young community to be more in contact with what you guys are doing because, again, they are lost. And I'm willing to speak with some of y'all in terms of
Okay, final question, go ahead, and then we'll have them respond and we'll end.
Alberta, Harris, I have done some research in a lot of evaluator, social science researcher, behavioral change. Essentially, my question is this: how can Africana Studies departments add social science emphasis into their curriculum? Because that would allow students to do research and become, I believe I'm one of the few evaluators in city research scientist level 2 that was here in New York City Department of Health.
Okay.
So how can we bring, and it was the research in behavioral change that looked at, again, behavioral change in HIV and other things, read black books, etc. But how can we bring social science active researchers into the departments so that then come out in the community and make change?
Okay, anyone want to take that question or any other one stop it out?
Well, I can answer that.
Want to take the last one first?
I'll take the question of hiring social scientists. I think the mission of Africana and Black Studies programs now really has to speak to an engagement of using research to enable, it's where I started earlier, my comments earlier, enable our communities. And that means, and I'm the director of central programs, and I hire people, when I interview people to hire, I want to know not only what's on their research agenda, but how is it going to interface not only with curriculum, but training our students, but how is it going to engage with our community? How is it accountable to the issues in our community? Now, what a challenge, as you must know, is a person that produces that corpus, that body of literature and scholarship. The question is, what kind of political mobilization takes place in the university so that they can keep their position. They can keep their position in Black Studies, but the larger issue is, are they tenured and are they promoted in the university?
Yeah, I would just add to that. My sense is that Africana Studies across the field works hard to recruit, train, and to hire social scientists. Some of the departments that actually are departments that are really strong that are the University of Pennsylvania. Obviously, we have Eddie Glaw here representing Princeton. I'm chair of a program, not a department, but we also have social scientists who are doing research-oriented work that's connected to the community. So I think when we think about Africana Studies, most programs are deeply invested in that, but it does come down to the brass tacks of being able to recruit, hire, tenure, and retain faculty who are doing that kind of work, which is a long and sort of complicated process.
There was also a question about priorities. Anybody want to talk about that?
Thank you. Really quickly, education, employment, not just simply just getting jobs, but a living wage, and criminal justice. Those to me are the three issues that ought to guide how we tackle it. All three are related.
Yes.
Dr. Watson, if I may, I just want to say that I have been coming to the conference from the inception. I just want to congratulate you. This has been the best ever.
We could not have done this without these brilliant intellectuals, all of whom I know, and we're really privileged and blessed to have all of them. Let's give them a round of applause. And let me just say that Dr. Fidel Joseph's book, Stokely, is on sale down the hall. If any of you are interested.